All right, we've got a pretty wild story for you. We're going to break down a dramatic raid at a factory in Georgia that shows what happens when two huge but completely opposite government goals smash right into each other. It's all about massive investments, skilled workers, and a visa system that's at its breaking point.
I mean, just imagine seeing this headline. This is from South Korea's biggest newspaper, and it really captures the shock, and you could even say the sense of betrayal that rippled through the country after this raid. So what exactly went down?
475. That's the number of foreign workers detained by U.S. agents. And this wasn't just any raid. We're talking about the largest single-site immigration raid in American history. But the where? Well, that's what makes this whole thing so fascinating.
So this all happened at a brand new $7.6 billion Hyundai and LG electric vehicle battery plant. This is Georgia's largest manufacturing project ever. It's supposed to be a shining example of American manufacturing making a comeback, which, begs the question, right? Why on earth would a raid like this happen at a place that's supposed to be a massive win for U.S. industrial policy?
Well, that question brings us right to the core of the problem. This is a story about a head-on collision between two of the administration's biggest and, frankly, most conflicting goals.
And here it is, laid out plain and simple. On one side, you've got goal number one, get tough on immigration, no exceptions. And on the other, goal number two, rebuild American manufacturing, which means you have to attract huge foreign investors, especially from places like South Korea. You can see the problem, right? The Georgia raid is the exact spot where these two policies didn't just meet, they completely slammed into each other. And it's not like they didn't see this potential conflict. The administration was actually on the record promising investors they would make it, quote, quickly and legally possible for them to legally bring your very smart people, the essential folks you need to get these incredibly complex factories built from the ground up.
And the stakes here are just massive. We're talking about a $350 billion commitment from South Korea to invest in the U.S. as part of a major trade deal. So this one raid, it didn't just affect a few hundred workers, it put a gigantic economic partnership in serious jeopardy.
Okay, so what was the actual spark that lit this fire? Well, it boils down to two things: a critical shortage of skilled American workers and a visa system that's, let's just say, a bureaucratic nightmare. See, the real root of this goes back a long way. For decades, as manufacturing jobs left the U.S., the number of people with those specific technical skills, well, it shrank. And now, as we're trying to bring all that industry back, companies are finding there just aren't enough local experts to build these high-tech plants, especially when you're on a super tight deadline.
And just to put that into perspective, the semiconductor industry alone is looking at a potential shortage of 67,000 technical workers by 2030. Now, these companies, they say they're all for hiring and training Americans, but they argue that to even get started, they need their own specialists on the ground to oversee the setup.
So this is where it gets tricky. How did all these workers end up in legal hot water? Well, a lot of them came in on things like a visa waiver, which is really for tourism, or a B-1 visa for training. The problem, according to U.S. authorities, is that they were actually doing hands-on labor, a big no-no on those visas. But getting the right kind of work visa, like an H-1B, it's notoriously hard with super strict yearly limits. It's a classic bottleneck.
And according to one consultant, this kind of thing, using short-term visas to get a project off the ground, it wasn't really a huge deal in the past. It just didn't get this level of attention, especially when the government was practically encouraging these companies to come and build here. But yeah, this time was very, very different.
As you can imagine, the raid kicked off an immediate diplomatic firestorm that just exploded over a few short days.
I mean, look at how fast this all went down. Thursday, the raid happens. By Friday, South Korea is lodging an official protest. They had no warning at all. Then there's this frantic scramble over the weekend to cut a deal. And by Monday, South Korea's foreign minister is on a plane to D.C. for emergency talks. For two countries that are such close allies, this was an incredibly tense few days.
And let's not forget about the actual people caught in the middle. For them, everything hung on one crucial distinction. Would it be a voluntary departure or a formal deportation? And that's not just semantics. A deportation order can get you banned from entering the U.S. for years. We're talking about a potentially career-ending event.
The reaction from the companies was swift and severe. You had Hyundai immediately starting a massive review of all its contractors. LG Energy basically hit the brakes, stopping most business trips to the U.S. and telling their people who are already here to either pack up and leave or just stay in their hotels. The message couldn't have been clearer. The old way of doing things was officially over. And you have to understand, this wasn't just a one-off incident. What this raid really did was shine a massive spotlight on a much bigger, systemic issue that's affecting some of the most important tech investments happening in the US right now.
Yeah, this is happening all over. You've got TSMC in Arizona, Samsung in Texas, SK Hynix building a new plant in Indiana. All these huge Asian tech companies are investing billions of dollars in the US, and pretty much all of them are facing the same exact headache. How do we get our specialists here to actually build these things?
So is there a solution? Well, there's a bill that would give South Korea 15,000 of these specialty visas, but it's been stuck in Congress for more than 10 years. What's really interesting is that we already have a similar deal with Australia. The E3 visa gives them over 10,000 renewable visas every year. It really shows a pretty stark difference in how the US treats some of its closest allies.
And that's why experts like Wendy Cutler, a former top U.S. trade negotiator, are saying you can't just keep papering over these crises with last-minute deals. Her point is, if the U.S. is truly serious about making foreign investment a priority, then a real, stable, long-term solution to this visa problem is needed, like yesterday.
Which really brings us back to the fundamental question at the heart of all of this. How can the United States possibly attract all this vital foreign investment while at the same time strictly enforcing its own immigration laws? It's a massive puzzle, and figuring it out isn't just important for companies like Hyundai, it's absolutely critical for the entire future of American manufacturing.